In lesson 10-2, we're going to work with one-step equations, and we're going to include our decimals. So this builds off of our last lesson. We're going to be doing the same rules here. Simplify both sides of the equation, then get rid of addition and subtraction to the side of the variable, then get rid of multiplication and division to the side of the variable. So this first example here, what we need to do is look at the side of the variable. Again, focus in on that side, have your blinders on. We got to get rid of this 2.5. So it is a positive 2.5, so we need to subtract 2.5 on both sides. Let's draw our line across. We need to bring our equal sign down. We need to bring this negative down because it's in front of the n. We need to bring the n down. All right, this is a positive 2.5 and a negative 2.5, so that's 0. These are both negative, so it's like I owe $2.40 and I owe $2.50, so I owe $4.90 or negative 4.9. Now at this point, I need to get rid of this negative in front of the variable. So my coefficient right now, it's like I have negative 1n. I need to divide by the coefficient of negative 1 on both sides. And when I do that, I get rid of my negative here. I need to bring my variable down. So I have n, bring my equal sign down, I have equals. And these two negatives here are going to cancel, and I'll just be left with the 4.9, because 4.9 divided by 1 is 4.9. And negative divided by negative is always a positive. So let's go on to our other example here. Again, focus on the side with the variable. Well, it's always good here to circle your answer at the end. Always circle your answer after you check it. So you can plug 2.5 minus 4.9 into your calculator. You should get negative 2.4. It'll work out. So let's go ahead and add 3.2. Because this is a negative 3.2, we need to add 3.2 to both sides of the equation. Okay, let's draw our line across. We'll bring our equal sign down. Bring our negative in front of the variable down. Bring our variable down. This is going to be 0. And here I owe 7.2 and I have 3.2. So actually I owe more than I have. So I'm going to owe in the end. And then I just need to subtract. What is 7.2 minus 3.2? I can kind of ignore my signs and just say, okay, how far are they apart? 7.2 minus 3.2 is 4. Okay? And then now I need, again, get rid of this coefficient. This is negative 1m. So I need to divide by negative 1 on both sides. Okay? That allows me to get rid of the negative, and I'm left with m. So I can bring m down. I can bring my equal sign down. These negatives will also cancel, and then I'll have 4. Okay, now I can plug it in and check it. So with my calculator, I'm going to do negative 3.2 minus 4, and that gives me negative 7.2. Now that I've checked it, I can go ahead and circle my answer because I checked it. It works. All right, moving on to the next example here. Again, I need to focus on the side of the variable. So am I going to work with the 9.4 or the 9.8? I'm going to work with the 9.4 because it's right next to the letter. So since this is negative, I'm going to add 9.4 to both sides. Okay, draw my line across. Now I have my equal sign down. I don't need to do anything with this plus sign, so I can actually just bring the a down, and that saves me a step at the end. I won't have to divide by negative 1. Now these two things are going to be 0. And now here, do I owe more or do I have more? Well, it looks like I owe more, so my answer is still going to be negative. And when I subtract the 2, I'm going to get negative 0.4, because 9.8 minus 9.4 is 0.4, and we'll have a negative. Now, this is a positive a, so actually I'm done right now. It's important to check it. So if you go negative 9.4 in your calculator plus negative 0.4, you're going to get negative 9.8, and it should work out for you. Okay. This next one, start with step 1. Simplify both sides of the equation. So we need to change both of these to a positive because we have an uh-oh. Okay. Now that this is a positive 3.1, I need to subtract 3.1 on both sides. Okay. Draw my line. I'll bring my variable down. I'll bring my equal sign down. All right. The variable happened to be positive, so we have a positive variable there. That'll make it nice at the end for us. Okay, now I owe $1.80. I owe $3.10. So I'm going to owe 4.9. I got to add them together. I'm going to owe more money at the end than I have at the beginning. All right, so now with your calculator, you can just take negative 4.9 and plus 3.1, and you get negative 1.8. It works, and then we can circle it because we've checked it and it works. All right, the next problem. Okay, 6.2 is the coefficients. We need to divide by the coefficient. Okay, so we divide by 6.2 on both sides. That will allow us to cancel our 6.2, and we have x. We bring our equals down. And this is a negative divided by a positive, so that's going to leave us with a negative. Okay, and then if I do 39.68 divided by 6.2, you can just use your calculator for that. I'm going to get negative 6.4. All right, and then if I have that in my calculator, I just go ahead and multiply that by 6.2, and we get negative 39.68. So we checked it, and it works, and now I can circle the answer. Okay, now this next one, okay, again, focus on the side of the variable. Okay, I'm going to focus on my 2.8, not my 14. So here's my 2.8. Now this line right here means divided by. So the opposite of division is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2.8. So whatever I do to one side, I got to do to the other. Now, since this looks like it's in fraction form, I'm actually going to put this over 1. And this is also in fraction form over here, so I'm going to put this over 1 just so it's a little bit easier for me to look at. The 2.8s are going to cancel. Okay, remember, simplify before you multiply. We simplify those to both 1s. Okay, and then I bring my x straight down. So I have x is equal to, now this is a negative, and this is a positive, so I'm going to have a negative answer. Now, if I just multiply straight across, I'm going to get 1 times 2.8, which is 2.8. And I'm going to get 14 times 1, which is 14. Okay, now I don't like to have decimals in my fractions, so just go ahead and divide these two. So let's do 2.8 divided by 14, and I get 0.2. So I have x equals negative 0.2. Now, you might be wondering, how do I check this? Well, again, the same way. You can just take negative 0.2, divide it by 2.8. You're going to get a decimal. So 0.2 divided by 2.8 is going to be negative 0.071428571, and so on. It looks like that is going to repeat. And then if you take 1 and divide it by 14, you're going to get negative 0.071428571. So it's the same decimal. Remember, all rational numbers can be written as percents, decimals, and fractions. So we can compare them like that. Again, that's a nice way to compare two fractions, is convert them both to decimal. Okay, again, moving on here. Okay, for this first choice, what I'd like you to do right now is go ahead and pause this video, and I would like you to work out this problem right here. Go ahead and pause it and work it out on your own. And then when you're done, you can hit play, and I'll show you how to solve it. Okay, now that you worked that problem out, okay, 4.6 is our coefficient. We need to divide both sides by 4.6. Okay, so that'll allow us to cancel our 4.6. We can bring our x down. Okay, we have a negative here and a positive here, so we're going to have a negative number down here. And then if I just take 16.1 and I divide it by 4.6, that's going to give me 3.5. So negative 3.5 should be my answer. However, just take it, it's still in my calculator. I'm going to multiply it by 4.6, and that gives me negative 16.1. So I checked it, and that is my answer. Okay? So hopefully you were able to get the same thing. If not, make sure you fix your notes to match mine. Now, I'd like you to pause the video again and work out this next problem. It's our last example for the day. So go ahead and pause it, work it out, and then hit play so that way you can find out what I did. All right, now that you worked this problem out, let's go ahead and I'll work it through and you can compare your notes with mine. So since we're dividing by 0.4, we need to multiply by 0.4 on both sides. Okay, since this side looks like a fraction, I'm going to write it over 1. This side does not look like a fraction, so I can leave it just like this. Okay, now my 0.4s are going to cancel. And then I can bring my a down. I can also bring my equal sign down. And then I'm just going to throw 18.25 times 0.4 into my calculator. And remember, this is negative and this one's positive, so I'm going to get a negative 7.3 for my answer. Okay, so that's my final answer there for our last example for the day. So hopefully that worked out. You can check how you did that problem and make any corrections you might need to.